I was 7 years old when I first got Cinnamon Bear. He was a little stuffed bear with light brown fur, and I remember falling in love with him immediately. I would take him with me everywhere that I went. I would talk to him and imagine him talking back to me. He became my best friend. Whenever I sat at the dinner table with him and pretended to give him some of my spaghetti, my parents thought it was absolutely adorable. My 12-year-old sister, Kaity, on the other hand, would scoff and just look annoyed and make constant sounds. Kaity had always been kind of a jerk to me, but after I had gotten Cinnamon Bear, she practically became a bully, constantly taunting me and calling me a creepy weirdo whenever she saw me holding him. One day, I came up into her room while she was watching a movie and wearing her favorite Powerpuff Girls shirt to tell her that Cinnamon Bear had the hiccups. "Your stupid bear has the hiccups," she said before laughing. "Your bear doesn't have the hiccups. He's not even alive. Now get out, stupid." She punched Cinnamon Bear right out of my hands. Mom had been standing in the hallway at this time. She saw the whole thing. "Kaity," she scolded, coming into the room with her hands on her hips. Kaity shrank back into her bed, looking frightened. "We do not punch Cinnamon Bear," Mom continued. "Cinnamon Bear is a member of this family. We do not punch Cinnamon Bear." After she left, I repeated to Kaity what Mom had said. "We do not punch Cinnamon Bear, Kaity," before following my mother out of the room. Outside Katie's room, Mother apologized to me about what Kaity had done. "Kaity has been really mean to you and Cinnamon Bear lately, hasn't she?" I nodded yes. "Well, Daddy and I are thinking about a way to make her much more nicer to the two of you." "You will?" I said excitedly. "How?" "It's a surprise," Mother replied. "Just wait and see." The next day, when I woke up, Kaity was gone. I asked where she had went, and my parents just said that she was at a friend's house. A whole entire week passed without Kaity returning. I constantly began to worry about her, despite her being a jerk to me. She was still my big sister, and I did have love for her still. My parents continued to constantly assure me that not only would she be back soon, but that she'd be a much nicer person to the entire family, including Cinnamon Bear. One day, Dad came home from work calling me downstairs. I ran down to greet him, and he told me that Kaity was back. "She is?" I replied, looking around. "Where is she?" "Right here." He reached into his bag and pulled out a stuffed lamb wearing Katie's Powerpuff Girls t-shirt. "Here's the new and improved Kaity. She can hang out with Cinnamon Bear when you're not around, and she'll be much nicer to you and him than she was before." At the time, I was much too young to realize the implications. I just excitedly thanked my dad and brought Kaity the lamb up to my room to meet Cinnamon Bear. Soon, Kaity became just as good of a friend to me as Cinnamon Bear was. Even though nowadays I'm too old to play with stuffed animals, I still keep them both on the shelf in my room where they can watch me surf the web. They are currently watching me type this out right now, together as friends. From time to time, I think that I may hear Kaity the lamb apologize to Cinnamon Bear in a whispered tone for punching him such a long time ago. But then I think that it may just be my imagination.
I don't really know what to do anymore. Being a farmer down the rural end of Missouri, life gets a little lonely. I only had 3 friends, all farmers. My wife died 10 years ago of a disease, and it's hard to combat the loneliness alone. Income hasn't been so great lately. Something has been attacking my livestock. They are my main source of income, and I'm going into debt. I met up with some of my friends at the local bar, the only place that still runs in this dump of a town. "What do you mean killed?" asked Joseph. "I don't really know what you're talking about," said Paul. "Animals don't just die for no reason." "I swear, they just died out of nowhere," I exclaimed. "They have a deep, saw-like cuts in their head, and the rest is just, whatever it didn't want to eat. I have no idea what it is. Well, we can't help you, said Josiah. We had our own keep to some groups of coyotes out in our farms too. Thanks for the help, guys, I said, and I stormed out of the bar. I never realized how late I ended up being out at some nights. I swear I got home around midnight and walked up to my house. I ate some chips and walked up to my bedroom and I just passed out. Howling, not like any animal I ever seen or heard. It sounded unworldly, like it was from a different planet, maybe even a different universe. It sounded like 6,000 screams from the lowest pit of hell echoing through my ears. I smashed open my gun cabinet and pulled out my rifle. I ran over to my barn and climbed the ladder. I sat on the roof waiting for the little coward to attack my animals. I heard the howling again. It was tearing up my prized cow. I climbed down to get within range of whatever was killing my animals. I would have no mercy against what had made my life a living hell in these past few months. I walked up to the gates of my cow area. I shouted out cat calls towards it, and I heard the growling again. Closer, at least 10 feet from me. It flew with amazing speed, making 10 feet look like 10 inches in a second. I saw it. It was a huge black beast that easily towered 10 feet crouching. It twitched naturally and was very frantic. It had mangled pitch black fur covering in blood and entrails. The musky smell of blood rained through the air. The beast's claws easily reached 2 feet. His blue eyes flared like red headlights. I was like the deer caught in him. I looked down the barrel of the gun, and I got a clear shot towards his head. I was trembling. The sweat coming off my head was like a waterfall. I shot it directly in the head, and it just smacked to the ground for a second. It stood up, and the bullet left no damage. In fact, it barely tore the skin. I looked in horror as the beast lunged at me, and I ran as fast as I could. I was tackled and clawed across the face. I grabbed my gun 2 inches from me and I shot it again at close range. I felt the shell fall back down on me as the creature just stared at me, unharmed and fully aware I was trying to harm it. It took its giant palm and smashed my face in, then clawed it. The monster picked me up with its teeth, and then I blacked out. I don't know where I was at now. It was dark, and the smell of dead animals was intense. I saw multiple bloody carcasses on the floor, ranging from raccoons to foxes. I tried to stand up, but then I looked down. A huge gaping hole on my left side of my leg was visible, and I couldn't escape the pain that I was describing. I inched toward what I thought was light, and I saw freedom, but I was deep in the woods. I started to slide down an incline, and then the slide down went from sort of sliding to flying down at 20 miles per hour, at least I would say. I slapped a tree with my face and then laid down on the ground in pain. I continued to slide, then I heard the beast from hell's call again. It was close. This time, I was sure I was going to die. The creature hovered over me. It just lifted me up and threw me against a tree. I slid, trying to escape, but I was just lifted up and thrown to the ground and then stomped on. I was praying for death, but the creature wouldn't let me go that easy. The beast reached down and screamed in my face. I watched as 3 more monsters walked near me. I witnessed in fear as they howled, and even more showed up. At least now, I knew there wasn't only one of these things. I tried to stand up and run, but as soon as I tried to stand up, I was smacked back to the ground by one of these monsters. I was rolled over and I stared in the eyes of the animals that planned to murder me. I stared into their eyes for a brief few seconds. The light flooded my eyes, and my God, the light was bright. They took their sharp 2-foot-long claws and dug them into my eyes. I felt every single twitch, push, and tingle. I screamed, and then nothing. I felt absolutely nothing. I shouldn't have messed with these things. I know I shouldn't have. My vision was restored, but I felt pain, and I felt back like I was alive. My body stung everywhere. I don't get how people got the ideas of clouds and golden gates and all that. It was just a pitch black forest. There's nothing up here, only the howls of the beast in the distance. For those who meet death, get prepared. It's just a hunting game. Welcome to hell.
I love collecting paintings. Ever since I was a small child, I've stared in awe at the works of Picasso and Edvard Munch. Throughout the years, hundreds of pictures have come and left my possessions. Last week, I found a user on eBay willing to sell me a portrait I'd been after for quite some time. It was a replica of Nighthawks by Edward Hopper. I had done this many times before, so I wasn't expecting anything strange. The picture surprised me, price-wise. It was incredibly cheap. More than that, it looked like it was in great condition, no types of decay or anything. The user had said it would take around a week before it finally arrived. 3 days went by before the package appeared at my doorstep. Safe to say, I was pretty surprised. I was resting on my couch watching television when I heard the doorbell ring. I unlocked my door and there it was. I couldn't hold back my excitement. As I had said before, this was something I've been looking forward to for at least a couple of years, and to see it in front of me just like that brought a big smile to my face. I immediately grabbed a small kitchen knife, slit the tape, and opened the cardboard box. I pulled the painting out of the box and laid it flat, facing up towards the ceiling on my living room carpet. It didn't take long for me to realize that this was not the painting that I had ordered. This painting depicted a wheelchair, the back facing the viewer, that sat in the middle of a small room. The walls were made of wood and were stained with some dark, brownish liquid. In the right corner of the room, there was a wooden table with lots of pills scattered all over it. On the top of the table, besides the pills, there was a nicely folded rope. I couldn't really tell you much else about the painting besides the fact that the room looked like it was very dark. I was pissed, to say the least. I felt like I had been tricked into paying $3,000 for some shitty, half-assed painting made by some loser. I punched the wall so hard, I nearly broke my wrist and my knuckles began to ache so badly. After a moment, I finally calmed down. I snatched up my laptop and logged into eBay, determined to find out who had scammed me and to report that little bastard. I spent around half an hour searching for the user, but I couldn't find any trace of the guy. He probably just deleted himself, the little cunt, I thought. Defeated, I placed my laptop on the dining room table and took another look at the figure. I felt some kind of morbid interest in it, though. I could sense my anger slowly dissipating into nothing as I stared at the dark image for some time. I lifted the painting and carried it to my hall. There, I hanged it up where the other painting was intended to be. While hanging it, I noticed that the frame was covered in a large number of scratches. It looked like something your cat would do to one of your mattresses if it ever got stressed or annoyed at you. I spent the rest of the day browsing the internet. I even tried the guy again, but nothing came out of it. I had a shower, brushed my teeth, took some of my sleep medication. I have insomnia. It's quite the bitch, by the way. And then I finally went to bed. I woke up sometime in the middle of the night. I couldn't quite understand why I had woken up, so I opened my eyes and sharpened up my ears for anything unusual. I began to hear a heavy, yet subtle noise coming from my hallway, just outside of my room. It sounds like wheels swaying back and forth. I, in my groggy state, picked up my phone and slowly tiptoed over to my door. Very silently, I turned the handle and opened up my door. I peered down the hall, my eyes adjusting to the darkness. I could make out the shape of a wheelchair moving up and down the hallway slowly. What nearly made me scream was the head, with long gray hair from its skin, moving closer and farther away with each second. The head had its back to me, so thankfully it could not see me. It was clear to me that this person was an old lady, probably well into her 80s. After staring at her for a few seconds, I began to hear murmuring. I couldn't catch it all, but I did make out some words. This is what I heard. Where are the pills? I turned on the flashlight on my phone and pointed it at the woman. At this point, I was sweating freaking bullets. Suddenly, she stopped talking. An awkward silence filled the hall. The woman's head began to turn, and I heard a scream that nearly ruptured my eardrum. Where are my pills? A sudden exhaustion swept over me, and my vision began to fade as I lost my consciousness and blacked out. By the time I woke up, the sun was already shining through my windows, bringing life into my home. I woke up in my bed, which gave me relief. I had thought that it was all probably some sort of bad dream. I got up, still frightened from my nightmare. My phone was missing. I took some time to look for it, but I finally decided I'd take a look for it later. Way too early for this kind of shit. Passing through the hall, a brightness filled my eyes as I spotted my phone on the floor, reflecting the light from the sun. I stared at it for a moment before picking it up and walking off. I went to the bathroom and splashed some water on my face, reanimating my eyelids. I opened my cupboard to get my deodorant, and I noticed that my sleeping medication was missing. I must have left it somewhere around the house after I used it last night. That's odd, very unlike me. I brushed it off eventually and walked back over to my room. Walking through the hall again, I shot a look at the painting. The picture was the same as it was before, but now the previously empty wheelchair had an old woman nicely seated on it, with her head cocked to the right side. I soon realized that that wasn't the only thing that was different from before. There was also an inscription on the wooden frame that read, "Thank you so much for finding my pills."
What do you think of when you look in a mirror? Is it how you look? That would be the first thought, yes. But do you ever let your mind wander off, letting you think that your reflection is more than just that? No, that's absolutely absurd and ridiculous. It's just your reflection, isn't it? Do you get that feeling that someone is watching? Of course not. Your reflection is your image in glass. You automatically trust it that it can't do any harm to you, but you shouldn't. It really is not you in the reflection, and it can't be trusted. Take a closer look. Focus on what's supposedly you, and if you're keen, you will notice it messing up in its movements. When you catch this irregularity, do not give any sign that you saw its mistake. Just walk away and act as if nothing happened. If you let it know its mistake, its skin will turn to what looks like burnt leather, the eyes will melt away, and its face will contort into a sinister grin, showing sharp teeth. The background will darken. The only thing visible is what seems to be human flesh that has been stained with blood. The background decorated with entrails. It will be the last glimpse you will see in the mirror before the glass starts to ooze blood. When the mirror is fully covered in blood, a hand will appear through the blood, reaching out to you in a beckoning manner. You should know not to grab it, but you no longer have control at this point. Upon taking the hand, you will feel a sharp pain throughout your arm, followed by darkness. Upon quickly regaining consciousness, the distinctive smell of blood and sulfur will attack your senses. There will be only one thing visible. The mirror to reality.